We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end...
What will I become?
Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
British cycling's successes at the Olympics and Paralympics has seen it win more medals at each Games, from London through Rio and Tokyo. It's also winning more across more disciplines, like BMX and mountain bike, as well as the track. The organisation is also responsible for developing cycling, from grassroots right through to supporting the riders representing Great Britain on the international stage. And it's about to stage a major new event in the UK. I'm Michael.
And I'm John, and this is Great British Bosses from Anything But Footy, and in this special episode, I'm here in Manchester at the National Cycling Centre, the home of British cycling, to find out more ahead of the new Lloyds Bank Tour of Britain and the Paris 2024 Olympics and Paralympic Games.
Hello, my name is John Dutton, I'm Chief Executive of British Cycling.
We're here in Manchester, the home of British cycling, the National Cycling Centre. It's an impressive place to come and visit. Firstly, thank you for welcoming us. And you've been here, just over 12 months?
Yeah, well, thanks for the opportunity, John, first of all. Just over 12 months, started last April. We're here at our home, the National Cycling Centre. Late last year, I had a significant refurbishment, reopened, £27 million invested. So we've got some amazing facilities. I've got all of our riders on programme based here in Manchester, our team of people, and it feels quite exciting.
And big plans to come. We've got the Olympics and Paralympics, which we'll talk about, of course. But firstly, the huge announcement that Lloyds TSB have come as a strategic partner.
We're absolutely delighted to welcome Lloyds Bank as our lead partner. So news last week, a significant long-term deal and investment into some of the things that we're really passionate about, including our new events portfolio, our social impact programme. Really exciting times. We can't wait to work with Lloyds going forward to really bring it to life. And
what does that give you, having them as lead partner?
Significant investment that we will put back into the sport. It gives us longevity in terms of having a lead partner, and it's also around some of the things that we I know we're going to talk about all things here British Cycling and some of the work that we have done, but modernisation is a really key word, and that's been part of our discussion with Lloyds. So they have around about 26 million customers, three things really important to them: colleagues, communities and customers, and that's a shared desire and belief here. So we think with a long-term partner that we can do some really exciting things going forward and really illuminate cycling perhaps in a slightly different way.
And from a spectating point of view, or the fans' point of view, what will they notice? Will they see the brand quite visually?
Yes, in just a week's time, we're sat here a week away from the Tour of Britain Women. So Lloyds Bank will be the title partner on our Tours of Britain. So you see a really strong brand and visibility across that race and across many of our different events. But events is a really big focus. So we've got some events that we've taken in-house that we will deliver, such as Tour of Britain Women, Tour of Britain Men, also a National Series event, but also some brand new events that we're going to co-create together, including an urban series and also a track league. So strong brand visibility, but also investment into some new modern areas, and in particular in pursuit of a new audience as well.
I think when I came into your office, I said congratulations on the deal, because it's quite a tough marketplace. We know that British athletics are looking for funding partners. So it is congratulations to you and British Cycling.
Oh, well, thank you. Look, it's a team effort, been led by Darren Henry, our commercial director, and our team. And probably since the start of the year, we've put our foot forward in a different way, and we've engaged with the business community. We spoke to lots of people. We've got a different storyboard, a new narrative, and we have created some new commercial assets. One of the things that Lloyds Bank are really interested in and that will support us going forward is a brand new social impact programme. Just employed a social impact director. We've made an investment into that, and that's beyond cycling, and that's really exciting because we want to engage with more of the communities that we will deliver our events in, and there's a great connection then between the two.
And you said, I think it was game changing.
game-changing, landmark deal, really significant. And it's important that we are financially sustainable for the future. It is tough being a CEO of any national governing body, and as you said, the commercial market is challenging. So it's important that we try our best to wean ourselves off the public purse a little and bring in commercial investment. And the more commercial investment we can bring in, the more decisions we can make about then reinvesting that back into the areas that we think is important. There's a really key word for me, which is relevance. I think the big discussion during Paris and post-Paris about the relevance of Olympic sport. And we've seen, haven't we? So if you go back to London 2012 and then you fast forward to what the sports will be in LA, and we've seen new sports come in. We're benefiting from BMX freestyle being part of the games, but we look at the amazing work that James Hope Gill's doing in skateboarding. We look at the growth of sport climbing, of surfing making its debut, flag football, cricket in LA. So I think it's a really big challenge for all of us that we have to be relevant to the whole of the population. I think what that means is a new, younger audience, maybe with different expectations, this huge growth in urban sports, and we're really excited to be in that space. And BMX freestyle in particular just offers a different value proposition.
Well, you mentioned it slightly earlier, the Tour of Britain. It's not the first time, of course, that people have heard about the Tour of Britain, but it's the first time that it's the Women's Tour of Britain, and it's the first time that British Cycling is organising it from beginning to end.
It is. It's quite exciting. It's also quite daunting. I mean, we've only really taken this in-house from January. So as we sit here, still in the month of May, 5 months to organise a World Tour professional bike race, almost 100 riders, and the team have worked so hard. I mean, it's just been incredible. We've got some amazing hosts. We've got quite a tight geography, starting in Wales, finishing in Greater Manchester. But we're going to welcome some of the world's best riders. We've also made a big commitment to British riders. We've got six British continental teams, a British race director. So we're really excited, not just for this year, but also for the future. We've got Tour of Britain men coming in September. And that was one of the big decisions that we've made over the past few months, that we have an events company, a commercial arm to the organisation. What that means, John, is we're able to behave differently to the national governing body. We're also about to set up a charitable foundation. So we've got 3 bits to the organisation that can behave in different ways, and hopefully then, particularly from a monetisation and commercial perspective, can bring in much needed revenue into the sport. So the 2 tours, I think there's a jewel in the crown of domestic road racing, but we then see the elite riders, many of those amazing athletes that are British, that are currently riding on continental roads. We will see them right here in the UK on our roads. Because
we'll talk about it, but you've got this amazing venue here for the track cyclists. You've got BMX here as well. You've got other locations around the country. It's important from a road race point of view that there is, as you say, something in this country for British riders.
It's really important. So we set up a road task force late last year, led by Egg Clancy and a group of people from across the sport. And they've delivered a series of recommendations, which we'll work on. And it will be over years to try and address some of the challenges of road racing. I think many people will appreciate how challenging it is delivering anything on the public highway. There's obviously safety, policing. It's really expensive. So what we must do is make sure that we deliver our Tours of Britain to the very best, highest standard, that we engage with a new audience. We remember this is an entertainment product as well, never lose sight of that. And then we also support the rest of the domestic race calendar. And it might be we get to less is more, that we have fewer races but more high quality races, safe races, high quality racing experiences, and also covering the geography we represent, which is the whole of Great Britain.
The Women's Tour as well didn't happen last year, but it's obviously back for this first one of the Tour of Britain, and that's really crucial as well.
It's absolutely fundamental to our future going forward. Not having that race last year, not having an offer for women, not just here domestically but also internationally, not seeing Great Britain on the UCI international calendar was something that we wanted to fix. And what that's meant is we've had to sprint very quickly. I think we talked about it being a race against the clock, and it has been. But we've got some really talented people that have made that happen, and it's so important. And we're on a journey to complete equality and parity with the 2 races. So this year we'll have a 4-stage women's race and a 6-stage men's race. Next year, our desire is to have 6 and 6, everything the same, prize money, the whole bit, and the experience and the way that everyone is treated. And we want to do that within the next 12 months. So the bit this year is foundation, getting the races on, delivering them really well, but also looking to the future. And we can look to not just next year, but many years of growing these properties, engaging with more people. And then the social impact programme is really important, because rather than the race comes past, you stand at the side of the road, free of course, you have a great experience, you see the riders and the caravan and all of the things that happen, and then you might go home with that memory, and there's no connection to anything else. So if we have a social impact programme that's deeply embedded in communities, that gives it longevity, and it gives us the ability to connect with people in different ways. Some research that we undertook last summer showed that 26 million adults have ridden a bike in the last 12 months. That's an astonishing figure. The reality is we probably connect with about 1 million of those people. So we're on a journey to try and connect with more people, to understand people's motivation, to get more involved in active travel, in campaigning, in the recreational space, and also be quite realistic about that with the resource that we have, the team that we've got. But the world is changing. We need to change with it. And that goes back to that word of modernisation, behaving in a different way.
It felt like around 2012 and post the London Olympics that cycling could overtake running in this country, that there felt like there was this movement that cycling was going to dominate. Do you think you've capitalised on that enough? And is this a way where you talk about the social side of the Tour of Britain and the community side, that actually you've realised that you didn't go quite as far?
I think if we reflect back to 2012, I describe them as the halcyon days for cycling. We had Brad Wiggins winning the Tour de France. We had everything that London 2012 brought, both on the track and the road and across the different disciplines. And it was an amazing time, wasn't it, in cycling? Then some well-documented challenges for British cycling and for the sport as a whole. And then the pandemic and the world changing. So I would rather look forward than look back. I can't affect change that's gone before. We can certainly affect our future, and I think that's part of what we're trying to do here, is looking through a different lens, modernising, engaging with more, not absolutely focusing on elite road racing, and recognising actually we've got these new, I call them new, people will probably be unhappy with the word new, but properly disciplines that haven't had the current attention, and we're now giving them the current attention, and we oversee 7 disciplines, but there are also many that sit outside of that are in enormous growth. So gravel is one. More people take part in sportives and cycling on gravel than ever before. We have trials. We have a new property in snowbike. Who know that might feature in the Winter Olympics. Quite hard to do snowbike in the UK at the moment. But all the different ways that you can ride your bike. And that just makes it quite special. So we're not just focusing on one particular thing. So I'd rather focus on the future and acknowledge the environment's changed. So we have to change with it. The socio-economic challenges that we all face in our daily lives, and also the quite mad geopolitical world in which we live in. And we just got to not feel sorry for ourselves and find a way through that and find a new exciting way through it.
And I know you said it wasn't just about the elite racing, but what's your ambition for the Tour of Britain? Could it become bigger and bigger and really a key part of the UCI calendar?
I think it can become bigger. We don't really have plans of what ultimately it might become. We're really excited by Tour of Britain Women. We think that's got exponential growth. But I think our vision at the moment is build a solid foundation, which starts in 2024, grow the races, give a higher quality customer experience to the people that will stand at the side of the road, give a higher experience to the people that will watch on broadcast, on digital. We're quite interested in technology and how we can innovate. We know there's a big conversation about athletes' data, full stop, across sports, and all of that is the future. We've got to be sustainable. You've got to deliver it. So financial sustainability is really important. And only yesterday we launched our environmental sustainability strategy, and there's almost a juxtaposition in cycling. You've got this incredibly sustainably sustainable sport, then when you have an event and you might have to have helicopters and all sorts of other things, it's just how we find our way through it. And that's not a challenge unique to us. Tour de France, Vuelta, Giro, other big races will have those challenges. But we also want to be leaders in that space. So, how we deliver things in a different way, greater customer experience, fantastic rider experience, and the parkour and making it exciting. So one of the things we've done with the Tour of Britain men this year is we've gone from 8 stages to 6 and back to maybe less is more, and we can put maybe higher impact quality racing with different parkour into those races. So hugely excited by the future, but being realistic about some of the challenges and the financial cost of delivering things. We've just got to keep our eye on that and not go too fast too quickly, but also we're full of ambition and desire.
Last one on the Tour of Britain. How key is Rod Ellingworth bringing him here?
It's just brilliant. I mean, Rod is just such a fantastic individual, hugely respected with the teams. We've already seen the impact that Rod has made. It's really super important for us that British first, and there aren't any other race directors that are British on the World Tour at the moment. And Rod, what I really like about Rod is he's prepared to challenge us. He walked into my office a few weeks ago. He said, "I've got loads of ideas for 2025. And I said, "Rod, let's just focus on the here and now." But it's brilliant because he's already thinking about maybe doing things in a different way. And he's coming from Team Sky and Team Ineos and that just incredible experience of working with the world's very best riders. And he's bringing that here into our races. So nothing but excitement.
So we're here in Manchester at the home of British cycling, the new National Cycling Centre, because it's had an amazing amount of money spent on it and transformation.
It has £27 million invested. I mean, we're blessed. We have a wonderful relationship with Manchester City Council, who own the facility. I think it's well documented, the waterfall fund, the commercial rent that the football club paid to the City Council and how that's reinvested back into community facilities. So we've
because you can see Man City, the Etihad, round the corner, can't you?
We are. I mean, if you just go back to the Commonwealth Games and you take the helicopter view across East Manchester, and then you look at it now, the Co-op Live Arena has opened. We've got the football club, the training facility. We've got here at the Velodrome and a BMX facility, and there is more growth and more development. It's an amazing place to turn up to every day and work. We've got 130 plus riders who are on programme, who are funded to come here to train every day, to compete at the very best. So yeah, it's just an incredibly uplifting environment to work in.
And BMX has changed cycling as well. You mentioned some of the other cycling events that you guys look after, but certainly it feels like with Tokyo and then Rio and London when we won medals in the racing, it's a totally different sport, but it's still under your umbrella.
It is, and a different community, and it's been really great to get out and see some of our National Series events and see the community that has been built, particularly through BMX racing. And we've had on-field success, so Beth Shriver, Kai White, Charlotte Worthington, Kieran Riley winning in Glasgow, so current world champion, and very hopeful for what's ahead in Paris. But it's super, super important that whatever happens in Paris, it's the block that sits underneath it and the foundation that sits underneath that. And I attended an event last summer, and I think it was 1,000 riders in BMX, 1,000, and that's everything from age 5 or 6 all the way through to 60, 70, but a community, a real community, and they have different expectations. So again, we've just got to flex and behave in a different way, and put our arms around everyone that wants to ride a bike. That's really, really important. I think the bike itself, part of our social impact programme, is around tackling inequalities, around removing barriers, and we know that there are some people that maybe can't afford to have a bike. So that's an area that we really want to focus in. Take all the barriers away, let people enjoy riding, and then also the talent ID that we have been incredibly good at previously is continue that journey and find the best talent to come through into our performance pathway.
This is Great British Bosses from Anything But Footy. We're talking to John Dutton, the CEO of British Cycling in Manchester.
We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end...
What will I become? Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
You mentioned about the Olympics and the Paralympics and Paris 2024. Let's just focus on that a little bit. How important is it? It seems a really stupid question, but how important is it for British cycling that you have success?
It's important, and we've talked so far, John, predominantly about the Olympics, and we haven't yet touched on the Paralympics. I mean, we run a fully integrated programme here in Manchester. We've got some amazing athletes, some iconic athletes, Dame Sarah Storey, Jodie Cundy, Kadina Cox, and more on our Paralympic programme. So there's the inspiration piece, so people performing at their best and other people seeing that and having that aspiration to follow in the footsteps. Success, I think for the last 4 games we've topped the medal table in cycling. We're in a really good place this time. I think what's most exciting is that if you go back to Glasgow and the World Championships last year, a lot of the people who medalled, a lot of the people who performed were some of the younger athletes, maybe not yet the household names, who we will see come through and perform in Paris and also hopefully go on to LA. So winning medals is of course important, and it's particularly important to the individuals who've given up their lifetime to go and compete. I think for us as an organisation, it's also what we do with that, and I'm really interested in how we fuse medal success and that visibility with delivering social purpose. And I think if we can do the two together, then we've got the complete component part, rather than being solely in pursuit of winning medals for winning medals' sake. And when we know the nation will get behind all sports in the Olympics and Paralympics, we have huge national pride. I just think for us it's just got to be that bit more, and I feel a sense of responsibility as a sport that reaches a large percentage of the population, that we perhaps do that in a slightly different way going forward. We've got a fantastic performance director, Stephen Park, who's doing amazing things, and just having some really interesting conversations with Stephen going forward about how we continue to make sure that we join the two things together. So medal success important, social purpose super important.
And we've touched on it as well. It's not just about winning medals on the track. It's actually the BMX, the racing, the freestyle, the mountain bike, the road. It helps across the board.
It helps across the board. I mean, we are probably one of the only cycling federations in the world that are still competitive across the 5 Olympic disciplines and ultra competitive across the 2 Paralympic disciplines. We saw the previous weekend Tom Pidcock winning in the Czech Republic. Tom will defend his Olympic title in mountain bike cross country, and we've qualified, I think for the first time ever, 2 places in both men's and women's mountain bike. So qualification still to be finalised, but I think we will take the biggest squad ever to Olympic Games, which is, again, it just shows the strength of depth across the disciplines. And the Paralympics is almost an embarrassment of riches. We just have so many amazing people. We can only select a specific number, but the team are doing a great job in qualification. And it's interesting that perhaps in the Olympic disciplines we've got younger athletes coming through, the likes of Emma Finucane, Josh Tarling. In the Paralympic space, we've got these people that have been around and been so successful, Dame Sarah Storey being one. So we've sort of got everything across the board, but we don't want to rest on our laurels, and that talent pathway coming through and the identification of talent and more diverse talent is really super important to us as well. I think we want to get to a place, LA, particularly Brisbane, but high ambitions, that the podium is more truly representative of the community that we serve, and I think that's a job for us to do. I think there's more of a diversity challenge across the whole of cycling that we collectively need to address, and I mean globally, but we recognise that, and we're ready to do something about that as well.
Obviously, Paris this year, the athletes on the track and in the field will win money for a gold medal, according to Seb Coe, the president of the World Athletics. The UCI president doesn't think that's a very good idea. Where do you sit on it?
Well, first of all, I mean, it's not our decision. It's a decision for the International Federation. I think what World Athletics have done has prompted a really interesting philosophical question, and I think that conversation should continue. Athletes have short careers, and I think athletes should be properly rewarded for their dedication that they put in. I think the interesting thing about world athletics is the focus is on the Olympics. So if anyone asks our opinion going forward, our opinion is always we run a fully integrated programme and athletes should be rewarded across the piece, both from an Olympic and Paralympic perspective. But I just think it's a really interesting conversation, and I think it will continue long after Paris. And as we get into LA, which on the face of it probably will be the most expensive Olympic Games ever staged, I think that pressure on the public purse, the investment of commercial brands, and how athletes are rewarded, I think there's going to be plenty of conversations over the next couple of years about that.
Because you can imagine, I've spoken to a lot of athletes in the last few weeks. I haven't met one who doesn't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, it's got to be properly thought through. Always with things like this, the law of unintended consequences. We've got to make sure that the revenue that is being driven, we know there's enormous revenue driven out of an Olympic and Paralympic cycle, but some of that needs to be invested back into the infrastructure, into growing the pipeline of talent. But we would warmly welcome being part of the conversation, and we would warmly welcome athletes being properly rewarded for the dedication that they give. Before
we move on, what's your favourite Olympic sport? John, what are you looking forward to at Paris 2024, apart from cycling, obviously?
All 5 Olympic disciplines, all 2 Paralympic disciplines. I'm such an Olympic fan. I mean, going to London 2012, and actually I worked in football previously and was involved...
Football? What's that?
and was involved in, I'll tell you a small story, the World Blind Football Championships, of which Dave Clark...
Yes.
Played for England in 2010 in the qualifier, then in London 2012. Dave is, of course, now the CEO of the British Paralympic Association, doing amazing things. And that just stood out. The opportunity to work with people who had a disability but wanted to be treated as athletes, didn't want anyone to feel sorry for themselves, and they go and perform and do amazing things. And that to me is just truly inspirational. And I see that every day when I come here to the velodrome. So I'm just looking forward to seeing so many sports that don't have that visibility, and everything from shooting, badminton, table tennis, archery, all of the amazing sports that we have in the Olympic family, and cycling playing a really big part in that as well.
And I can hear your passion for Paralympic sport as well. Obviously, it's the first time Paris has staged the Paralympics. Their third Olympics, but first Paralympics. And it feels, because of Tokyo and COVID, Rio, we know nearly didn't happen, literally, from a Paralympic point of view, that it feels like this could be the first time that the Paralympics really kicks on from 2012?
I think so. We all have fond memories, don't we, of 2012. I think we all recognise the amazing production values that Channel 4 have had in terms of how that visibility has come across. And I think Paris as a whole is so important. If you take Tokyo, obviously a pandemic games before, Rio before that, and then we've got LA and Brisbane, it's the only one in our time zone. And we wake up, we get out of bed, we go to work, and we switch on the TV and we're watching it. And I think there's something quite special about that. But I think the Paralympics, I just think the whole way the games, both Olympics and Paralympics, will be illuminated. The amazing landscape of Paris. I can't wait. Absolutely can't wait.
Last time we spoke on Great British Bosses, you were preparing for a Rugby League World Cup being held in this country. And that was obviously a huge event, but it was a one-off event. How are you finding being CEO of British Cycling, which is across, as we've already discussed, so many different things?
It's very different, John. If you think of the Rugby League World Cup, an event, it had a start, a middle and an end. It was protracted by 12 months due to postponement. But I was there. I don't think I'll ever be in the position in my career again. I was there on day zero. So helped get the funding in place and build the board and the team, and we were always building to the event, and the event came and happened, and then of course everyone moved on. Whereas here, a very mature organisation, a big workforce, really privileged to have so many talented people. So it's a slightly different approach, but guess what? The challenges are pretty much the same in terms of driving commercial revenue, being financially sustainable, making sure that we can bring in the best talent, that we can deliver the very best. Different, really enjoyable, and I'm enjoying the challenge. And I think my brief from the board when I came in was to make a difference, was to, first of all, just cut our cloth accordingly, and then secondly, to invest into growth. And that's very much what we focused on over the last 12 months. So such fond memories of the Rugby League World Cup 21, so much personal learning, personal growth, personal development, and hopefully using some of that now in this fantastic, exciting job I've got.
You won't comment on it, but from afar, it feels like British cycling has kind of got even again. It had very much ups and downs since 2012 that we talked about, but it feels like you've come in and you've stabilised things. What's your biggest success, do you think, in the year?
Oh gosh, well, you're absolutely right. I let other people be the judge of sort of success. But for me, it's about making a difference, and whenever the right time to leave the organisation, if I can reflect back and think, I've made a difference, the organisation is more financially sustainable, that we have nurtured the talent coming through, and I don't just mean from on the field, I mean off the field as well, that we're reaching more people, that we're making a greater contribution to social values, social purpose. So there's a sense of momentum, I think, at the moment. There's a sense of positivity. I like the Rugby League World Cup. I'm really big on culture, and that's something. And it's a bit different here because we cover Great Britain. We've got lots of people out in the field in regional roles. We've got our performance team who are literally travelling the world at the moment in pursuit of qualification. We've got a sort of administration centre here and everything in between. So it's just to make sure that as an organisation, as one organisation, we continue to be together. And I'm really proud of the culture and the people in the organisation that we are developing. It's been great. I don't think I'd met anyone before I came into the organisation. And certainly, our challenges on brand reputation, finances are well documented. So the only way to do something about that is to take action. We can say lots of nice words, but actions speak louder than words. And hopefully over the last 12 months, we've started to put some of the foundations in place.
And there's been lots of talk, in not just down the road from here in Manchester, but in government about getting people back, not working from home, all in one place, all in an office. You've already said there, you can't do that as your organisation. You are spread around the country. You don't have to all be in one place to have a culture, do you?
Not at all. And we've got a hybrid workplace, which I think is the future. It would be very easy for me to say, look, let's have a policy. Everyone has to work in the office 5 days or whatever it is. That wouldn't succeed. What will succeed is actually if people are based locally in Manchester, actually people want to come in the office. They want to spend some time with their colleagues. We are social animals, human beings, and we should never forget that. And also very mindful that people live a long way away. We're sat in Manchester, we've got people in Plymouth in the southwest and southeast and further north, but to try and find a way collectively of how we come together. And it feels like at the moment we're getting the right balance. There are always ways to improve, but I really encourage challenge. I really encourage feedback, and just constantly keeping better. And if people enjoy coming to work, then they're going to make a greater contribution, and that's definitely something I've always sort of carried through in my career.
There's always something that comes up that you're not expecting. I'm not sure anyone thought there'd be a general election before an Olympic Games. You mentioned about the funding, whether that will continue. Any indication from either party about whether UK sport will continue to get the funding and then you obviously benefit from that?
I think UK sport, the National Lottery and Sports England have been just made such an enormous contribution. We all know that there is pressure on the public purse, and when you put sport against health and education and defence and all of the different things that's going on, we want to do our bit not just for British cycling but for the UK sport as a whole, and make sure that we can continue to drive investment. So it feels like we're in as good a place with the instability that there is. It also feels like people need to continue to drive efficiencies, and the big bit for me is that we must stay relevant, and staying relevant is is delivering on the field of play, but is also delivering social purpose. And I think if we can do that, if we can make a contribution as sport, not just cycling, to health, to productivity, to growth, to the big things, and whilst they might seem a long way removed from what happens on the field of play, I don't think they are. And I think sport has an enormous part to play in all of those things. So I guess who knows what's going to happen on the 4th of July, but maybe new administration. I don't think that they're going look at sport in a different way. Perhaps they'll look at sport and say, actually, it can make such a enormous contribution to people's lives. And if we're ready as cycling, as sport, to play that social purpose contribution, then I think we will be successful with continued funding. But it's also really super important that we drive new commercial revenue into sport as a whole, so that we just try and be a little less reliant on the public purse, and that's very, very easy to say and very difficult to do, and I appreciate how tough that is for many of my peers out there at the moment.
Let's finish how we started. The Lloyds TSB lead partner. How long is the deal for, and what do you hope to have achieved by the end of it?
It's a 5-year deal, which we're really pleased with. There's a lot of co-creation, so we've agreed a number of themes. Some of the things within the themes don't yet exist, and that's really exciting in itself. So urban series, track league, some of our social impact programme. What do we want to achieve from British cycling? To have made a difference, to have engaged with more people, to have left British cycling in a better place, and then to kick on and make sure that continued investment comes in. What do Lloyds want from the deal is hopefully that, and the connection to their communities, their customers and their colleagues, and I think we're able to do that. So it's a really exciting start of the journey. Starts in a week's time with the Tour of Britain Women, see the brand and continue to work with that brand and many others. We are fortunate that Lloyds are our lead partner. We've got many other partners in British cycling, and just want to give people a great experience and continue to invest it not just in cycling but also in sport as a whole.
Well, we wish you all the best with the Tour of Britain and the Olympics and the Paralympics, and then another Tour of Britain. It's a busy time. We appreciate you making time for us. CEO of British Cycling, John Dutton, thank you so much for talking to Great British Bosses.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you.
Sports Social Podcast Network.